We just got off of the stage of Penn and Teller's Fool Us. He's holding in his hand the watermelon that we used on stage with Penn and Teller. Ben, how do you feel?
I feel amazing. It was an incredible experience. The crew here is so loving and so warm and welcoming that this experience could have been so scary, and both of us had such an incredible time.
Yeah. Of all of the magic experiences that I've had, this felt so cool. We got a chance to do everything we wanted. Everybody wanted us to be there. Everybody wanted us to win, and we're done. Hello, my friends, and welcome to a brand new episode of Discourse in Magic. And today we are talking about every part of the behind the scenes of how we got on Penn and Teller's Fool Us. We're going to talk about how we came up with it. We're going to talk about the process of getting on behind the scenes, going to Vegas, what that was like, and what's going on right now. To start, the first question is, how did we get on? People are wondering, they say, how did you get on the show? Did they reach out to us? Did we reach out to them? What was the process like?
So my process was a little different than yours. They reached out to me a couple of years ago and asked me to apply, and I didn't because I didn't feel confident at the time. Then they reached out a second time. I applied, and they said no. And then Jonah and I were talking about it during the pandemic, some of the goals that we had, and one that we both had was get on this show, and we figured together. Yeah. How was it for you? What was your process like?
Well, I've never submitted to the show. I've always thought about it, but I always thought that the content in my act is mostly other people's tricks with my script. No. Huh. So I've never submitted because I've been told point blank after interviewing countless people and producers and whatever, don't submit card tricks. We don't need card tricks. Yeah. And the other thing that happened was the pandemic. And over the course of the pandemic, Ben and I created a lot of magic together. We did like 500 or 600 virtual shows together with magic that we created together. And we did virtual as a duo act for the pandemic, which was the first time for both of us that we had ever done that. And it was ridiculously fun. We had such a good time making magic and coming up with stuff, and we were making YouTube videos during the pandemic and a whole bunch of other stuff because we had time on our hands. We're housemates and business partners and making fun magic. So we made so much magic that we just thought, wouldn't this whole thing be more fun if we did it together?
You had a line from Teller. What was it?
This is my favorite. So when I interviewed Teller and I asked him about how him and Penn settle their artistic differences, his answer was not lightly. And I love that answer because I think that I'd really understood this concept of having to work together as a duo, because Ben and I, when we work through our artistic differences in this act and in other acts, we don't take it lightly.
And we thought a lot about little details, like a word. And we would fight, and I'm sure you'll have questions about the process and stuff, but it was very fun process. For sure, working together also made it a better process, a better end result. Yeah. But there were definitely some tense moments. And
the next question is, how did we pick the trick? And I thought I would answer this by saying that, well, we didn't. Yeah, well, we kind of did, but we didn't. So Ben and I thought, we thought we had 2 or 3 tricks. I actually went through the notes recently of what actually happened in the email thread, but there's advice that I live by, and it's advice I've heard every great magician say, and the person who just rings in my ears and imagination when I hear it is Joshua J., who's like, do not go on TV and do something that you've never ever done before. Go and do that performance every single place you ever possibly could. So I'm like, okay, Ben, let's not invent a trick for this show. That would be ridiculous. We've just invented a whole bunch of tricks for our virtual show. Let's take those, take the clips of us doing it. We've got audiences laughing. We know they love it. We know the jokes are funny. We know they're great. Let's submit 2 or 3 of those.
What was the first thing that we sent?
We submitted the 2 torn paper. We also submitted a blue card. A trick with a blue card that was different.
The dream card.
Yeah, the dream card. We sent 2 tricks. They said something positive-y, but that did not say yes and did not say no, and was like, maybe submit another one, maybe submit something different. So we're like, let's submit another trick. Like, we knew we had to. So we reached into a project that we had been doing on YouTube called the Tarbell Challenge. And in that project, Ben and I were challenging each other to take the books of the Tarbell course in magic, each take a trick from the book, come up with a creative modern version, and do it for each other and see who can come up with a better one. We only ended up shooting 3 of them. So the first of them, I took a trick from Tarbell, which was with an orange and a ribbon in Tarbell, and I did it with a hot pepper and a ribbon. And the premise didn't make any sense, but it was a really cool trick.
There was something there with.
And I just said, hey, let's take this trick. And originally in Tarbell, it's supposed to be done with an orange. Let's do it with a watermelon because it's big and on stage.
But the reason we did it with watermelon was you had a story.
Yeah, an amazing story, yeah. So when I go grocery shopping with my mom when I was a kid, she used to go to the watermelon section and she would slap a bunch of the melons and then she would pick one up and go. And I asked her one day, I'm like, why are you slapping the melons? And she said, I don't know. People just slap the melons and then they take one. So I just slap a bunch of the melons. Maybe they're listening for something, but I have no idea. And then I take one. And I always thought that was the funniest thing ever.
And you told it to me, and I was like, I'm in. I'm sold on that. The two things I liked about it, or the three things. One is that it was a unique, weird-looking prop, right? That's big on stage, and we could do it. Number two was that it's based on a real story from our lives.
And then
the third was we got to say, slap a melon.
Oh yeah,
I want to slap melons
on
TV.
That line didn't end up making it, but we had a line that said like, when you slap a melon, it vibrates. And it.
I thought the coolest people might like it.
When we saw this image, and this is like the submission video, as soon as we saw that, we knew that they would like it. And I actually think that their response was not even that straightforward. Still,
I remember us being like, dude, did we get on this show? Like, we had no idea.
When we submitted that trick, they said, we like it. Let's schedule a call. So we got on a Zoom call with them, and we did the trick live on the Zoom call. Are you ready? 3, 2, 1, pull! And then it didn't work on the Zoom call. It broke. There we go, pull.
And just like that, it penetrates right through the melon, right through the ribbon. And Allison, wiggle your fingers. Allison's still intact.
The experiment was a success! Woo! Okay. One of the sticking points was that script about slapping a melon and it vibrating didn't really make any sense. You know, Michael Close had made some recommendations about string theory because it was a string that was.
Yeah, we were talking about string and vibration.
And we were banging our heads against the wall as to what the premise is. And then I just started Googling watermelons. I thought it'll be there. And then up came the fact that a watermelon is 96% water. And then I went, got it.
And it was really the line you said afterwards, what's the line, do you remember?
The watermelon is 96% water, so it's technically more liquid than solid, so things can pass right through it. And that just makes such cartoon sense.
Yes. Jonah and I, we love cartoon sense. Like, we talk about it from the Jerks, and a few other people, like Michael Weber, talks about how, like, if you have a grain of truth, or you start with this true premise, you can get somewhere weird. So, like, you hear it and you know it's not true. You know, you pointed out that like it would be smart to put in material from our previous shows and that we know work and get laughs. It was. And when I write new material, I don't think that way. I'm like, it's all new, it's all experimental.
The last thing I wanted to bring up about this process, which was really interesting, was the moment of making the watermelon appear, which we chose not to do. And this was an example of that Teller quote that I really resonate with. It's one that I remember explicitly, that Ben and I beat our heads against the wall over and over again. And his argument, which I agree with, is we're going to be on TV. There's a watermelon. We're going to be using it. We should absolutely make it appear. There's lots of ways to make it appear. It's going to be an amazing clip to make it appear. And I said, I agree, but we need the thing to be clear. Because for them to say, yes, you're on the show, it needs to be so clear. And we could not figure out a premise that made sense and also made sense about how the watermelon could appear.
Yeah, so we thought, like, if someone took a photo or a screenshot at any point and it was two guys dressed up with crazy stuff, it's always interesting. So you would take a seed, you'd put it inside, and it would be a machine that we scientists brought, and we'd pour in a little water with a vial, and then poof, a puff of smoke, and there'd be a watermelon. We'd bring it out. And yeah, we talked about maybe it would be better than the trick itself. And that could be problematic.
So that's just an example of one where it was like multiple sleepless nights. The other thing I wanted to talk about that played a role in this is open mics. You and I, from the moment that they said, tell us more, like they didn't even say yes. From the moment that they said, let's start doing Zoom calls and let's start chatting about it, you and I were diligently multiple times a week doing multiple open mic nights doing this show, and we recorded all of them. We've got video after video of us doing this trick.
We used one camera. We would go on these open mics and we'd record it, and then we'd go home and we'd look at our video. You know, and we had a lot of time talking about when Jonah talks, am I supposed to look at him? Right. Am I supposed to look at the camera? And think about it on stage.
And we struggled so much with that on stage. Like, you go like, we both had to like figure out those beats, and we did it literally meticulously, open mic after open mic. The one other question here, which we mentioned, but I just wanted to say point blank about the before, is where did the trick come from? And that is Tarbell. Tarbell book 1. Okay, so here's a question. Was it difficult to get on? Was it difficult to do?
You and I had very different feelings about this because it's pretty wild to me. For me, it wasn't hard at all. I mean, the hardest part was some of the frustrating fights you and I had.
Oh, for sure.
For me, that was the hardest. Me too. You know, you're arguing with this guy and I want to kill him, but I also he's my best friend. He's my partner we're doing the show with. I figured we submitted the trick and either they're going to go, you guys suck. Yeah. That's not getting on. And I'd say, cool, okay, whatever. We had fun. Let's go get a shawarma.
Or that we would shoot and then cut us. That's what we thought was going to happen really, really possibly.
Another good reason to sometimes do this with a partner. There was definitely times we talked about this where I felt relaxed because you were anxious. Mm-hmm. It's not like we put together a trick and never did it in front of... if we had only practiced that alone in our house and never gone on stage, my God, I would have been losing my mind.
Oh, and I will say, day of shooting, I was a nervous wreck and he was pretty chill.
We spent all this time going on and man, oh man, did we pour over. Where we'd say hey man, I need you to turn a little bit more to the left.
This.
Remember we talked about this versus this? We spent so much time thinking about the little things that even if we made a mistake, even if he forgot a line, we had that happen. In some of the times we would do it because we both knew each other's lines. I'd see it in his eyes. He forgot what his next line is. So I would say his line, but then he would jump in and say my line instead of we've switched roles.
Okay, next question is, what was Vegas like?
I hated it. One of the worst cities I've ever been to in my life. Should I hold back?
Well, tell us what you think about Vegas.
I didn't like it. For me, just so you understand the vibe, Jonah stayed up late to gamble. I went back to the hotel room and lay in my bed watching TV. The city is loud as hell. People yell at you everywhere you walk. And in the morning, because I wanted to relax, I snuck outside and I thought, I'm going to go get a coffee. I'm going to sit outside. I see some trees across from our hotel, and I had David Copperfield's History of Magic book, and I was like, this is going to be great. I'm going to have a great time. And I sit down to read my book. It's 8 a.m, and there's loud techno club music playing. So I'm like, some idiot is playing his music. And then I go and I move, and it's still playing, and then I realize Vegas has installed speakers in their friggin' trees so that you can't sit.
This guy brought a book to read on the Vegas Strip. Talking about the Penn and Teller Fool Us experience in Vegas. Flying down there, shooting, being a part of the whole thing. What was the highlight for you?
The highlight for me, really simple, was just the way that everybody treated me.
We did it. Bam! I look like a movie star. Ben looks like a movie star. We look like we're supposed to be here.
Because we are supposed to be here.
Woo!
We got picked up by someone and they were kind and friendly, and we got met by people I might have been stressed if we couldn't find contacts, or if we couldn't get it, or if our room sucked, but no, everything was great. They had snacks, the experience was fun. But I love you. This is a very good way to start things.
Let's mark the Susan. Woo! Yeah, so let's do the podcast right here.
For me, there's a moment I want to reflect on, which is when we were on stage doing the rehearsals, and we set up our box and stuff on the stage, and the producers came out and they said, hey, if you want the box to stay here, it totally can. That's totally fine. However, for TV, we recommend that you move it up to here. This is what we think would look better. And we're like, that's the most amazing kind of tip that a producer could give.
We got our 15 minutes on stage. We got one chance to do this trick so they could see how they're going to film it. We do it. It didn't work. And they go, here's some notes about the way you're going to do it. Back to the green room, because now it's someone else's turn. And we're waiting to go. And the moment we went on stage, we had just done this rehearsal where it didn't work. We're nervous and anxious. My partner, I look at him. He's nervous and anxious. Then we went on stage. Allison came out. We look out. It's really Penn and Teller sitting there. That is nerve-wracking.
And in performance, by the way, it was peculiar that you and I had timed all of our laughs, and it was basically just Penn maybe or maybe not laughing. And while I would like to say that we screwed up something live or whatever, I feel like when we got off stage, we felt like $1 million.
I felt like a pro because we had done all the work, performed 20 times, analyzed it, knew how we were going to stand, knew the moments, knew what we were going to do, and we went out and we crushed it.
Okay, what advice do you have for somebody who wants to get on?
Easiest one is you got to submit. You got to submit. I know so many people who didn't submit, myself included. There's no downside to submitting, and if they say no, be persistent, keep doing it, and And then afterwards, do as many live shows as you can so you're ready for the TV spot.
I have 4 pieces of advice because I've been
he
talking
prepared.
about this for a while. Yeah. Number 1, submit. 100%. That's really the best. Like, I've never submitted to the show, and I've always wondered why I wasn't on it. Number 2, you don't need a video of you doing the performance for real people. Do it in your house.
Yeah.
You should actually better in your house because they're just trying to scrub it to make sure it looks right, which leads me to number 3. Make sure it passes the scrub test. What's the scrub test? Scrub to the video. And if something interesting looks like it's going on, then they'll actually watch it. And then secret tip number 3 is go get some simple light background music and overlay it on the video because it's gonna cut the awkwardness of you standing alone in your house and make it a little tiny bit easier to watch. And my last tip is submit more than one. Keep going. Submit more than one. It's not about you. People always say to me, they're like, I haven't decided what exactly the best trick is. If we thought that way, we would not have made it. Yeah. We thought a bunch of tricks. We submitted a bunch. They were like, nah. We submitted another 2. And they were like, okay.
Don't stop submitting until they tell you stop submitting.
Exactly. We are done. We are saying goodbye to this beautiful view in Las Vegas. And with it, we have a weird celebration, which we said that we were going to do, which is, bam! Eating a little bit of our stage melon. Cheers.
Cheers. Good job, melon. Gross.
Glad we did this.
Okay, let's go downstairs and get real food.
We got melon in our belly and a heart full of love.
And now we're headed to the airport. We fly home.
Well, when we get home, you and I are going for steaks.
Oh, yeah.
Celebratory steaks. You know, everything has been, for the last month, everything has been leading up to this. It's been very hard to plan for the future with this here. And now we're done this. So now there's a whole bunch of other projects that we have been half-assing, which we can full-ass.
That's right.
Because now we have the time.
Wild with shows.
Now we have the mental fortitude to go full-ass. Ben! We're home.
Thank goodness.
How do you feel?
So tired.
Me too.
I can't wait to sleep.
We did it.
We did it. I'm proud of us. We made it home alive. And now, I'm gonna go get naked. So
now we get to rest and keep this a secret for like 8 months.
Bye, everyone. Okay, this is surreal. Right now, I am about to jump on stage and perform for this amazing group of people behind me. But at the same time, right now happening on the CW channel is my Penn and Teller television debut.
Ben is at a gig right now. Glenn is filming me, film him. There's everybody. Look at this. Look at this watch party. This is unbelievable. And the stream is illegal. Go call CW.